excited to start spring practice tomorrow morning. We've had a really productive 8 weeks. Came back right when school started in early or mid-January, and the guys went right to work. So it was probably the first time in the 6 years that I've been here that we were able to get a full 8 weeks in of winter conditioning, and I think that'll prove to pay dividends as we move forward through the spring and the summer, as well as we have had the guys in morning runs and stuff, and have most of the guys back. We didn't have as many season-ending surgeries this year. Nate and Nick are two that pop up, obviously. Nate Jensen as well. So there's like 3 guys that probably won't be in spring ball, but most of the guys were able to get through a full winter conditioning, which is always good, and we're excited about that. And I think our numbers are better, our weights are better, and strength levels are better, and all those things. I think you guys are getting a depth chart. It's pretty fluid right now. There's an awful lot of young guys that we're going to take a look at. We're going to move guys around different positions within the O-line, D-line, linebackers, whatever it may be, and we'll have a little bit better idea on what some of those guys can do at the end of spring. But it's 15 days for us. We are going to go, for the most part, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, with the exception of our weekend that we have our clinic. And we're fortunate to have John Gruden here. We'll go Friday, Saturday of that weekend, and we'll scrimmage whenever we can based on our numbers, as much as the NCAA allows as well. But there's a number of guys, obviously, that probably don't need to scrimmage that have played an awful lot of plays. But in the same respect, there's a lot of young guys that we need to get into competitive environments and see how those guys can react under the fire. And so as coaches, we're really excited because it's been 3 months since we've played football rather than 2 months. And so we're all excited as coaches to get started tomorrow. I know the players are as well. So open up for questions.
Coach, the decision to move Nick outside and keep Matt in the middle, what went into that?
That's still up in the air, to be honest with you. Nick's still going to play some inside. Some of it's based on our base periods or base personnel. Some of it's based on our nickel personnel. Nick won't be in spring ball other than some individual drills and stuff. He'll stay out of all the contact. So it's one of those things, depends on who we would play, if he'd be inside or outside.
Have you noticed the difference, this being the first spring in 5 years, you're not the defending national champs?
Not really. You don't notice that, I don't think, other than the fact that it's been 3 months since we put pads on rather than 2 months. And so I think from the players' perspective, they're pretty anxious to get back out there and compete, where in the past maybe it only been 7 or 8 weeks since they last put on pads. So that's the only difference that I really see.
Is there a position group that you're most excited to see get in, and which is the group that you'd like to see the most growth out of this spring?
Without question, the offensive line. We lose 3 great players there in Jack and Zach and Lando, and so we have to do a lot of shuffling around and a lot of good young players, whether they've redshirted or been redshirted in their second or third year in the program, that have the ability to step up, that we're excited about, that will hopefully create some competition. Let us be a little bit more versatile in there. I think you see Cooney has moved over to guard, so we're going to have Coonert playing guard, where he played his first year here, and I think that really makes us better with him at guard and Tanner Volson at center, although there's going to be some great competition in there. And then what we do with some of these young big offensive tackles, whether it be Dylan Radens or Zach Johnson or Cordell Volson, how those guys can develop so that maybe even Colin Connor could slide inside, because we have more bigger outside bodies than we do inside bodies.
Got some new coaches for the first time coming into spring ball. What do you say to them coming into this? How do you kind of approach it with them, and what have you seen already that you've liked from them?
Well, they've bought right in right away like I knew they would, and we've had enough workouts that they know how we're going to operate on stuff, as something as simple as where they're supposed to be and where their drills are at, to the tempo that our guys are going to operate at during a practice time. And I'm excited to watch those guys, because I've seen some really good things out of Buda working with the defensive ends, some different pass rush things that I think will really help those guys. And then offensively, bringing Courtney in, there's still all those other offensive coaches that have been through our system, and our system is going to stay relatively close to the same. We'll make some adjustments especially in the passing game and stuff, but we'll see how those things play out as the spring moves on.
Cole Cart's going to be more of a flexible moving piece, or is this really a move to the inside?
Well, we want to move him inside in the spring because we don't have Nate in the spring, and it gives us another body in there. And we'll see how well he does in there. He's a really good defensive end, but I think that's the position we probably have the most experience at, and most guys returning. For the teams that we're playing, a lot of the no huddle, the tempo teams, the teams that are more what we would call 10 and 11 personnel spread out teams, we have to be more athletic inside. I think you guys saw that even when we put Caleb Butler inside last year during games. Caleb causes a lot of problems. I don't care if he's 240 pounds. He's so quick and athletic. Now, do those guys hold up playing against our offense in the spring? Not a lot of times because of it being such a downhill run game. But Cole's going to be a guy that we're going to lean on a lot to learn the inside part of it. And if we can keep him there, we will. But he'll probably swing a little bit this spring.
What's your expectation of Easton considering the coaching change?
Well, my expectation of Easton is through the roof. It's always going to be high. He's a perfectionist, and I think Easton is going to learn from Coach Mess and some of the things that Mess likes to do as far as play calling and things like that, and how he likes to, so to speak, attack the field. But he's still with Randy every day, so he's continuing to grow and improve. And you got to realize he's going into really his third year starting, but he's still only a junior. And we look for big things for Easton. I think he'll really step up even more this spring and throughout the summer and fall. I think he's going to have a great year.
You had a really young group of defensive backs last year, and they're basically all coming back. Any updates there, even like with Bridges making the position switch?
Yeah, I think there's more competition now, and we feel not necessarily settled there, but we know who the guys are. Now it's a matter of competing. Dom Davis and Marquise Bridges are going to compete with Jalen Wimbush for the starting cornerback position. Wimbush, it's his job to win or his job to lose, but those guys are going to compete with him. I think Jalen Allison is going to be ultimately one of the best corners we've had here. He still has 2 years left, but he's a really special player. Now, who's going to be opposite of him with a lot of great competition? And then we have to find more safety bodies. That's something, we played Robbie and Trey almost every snap last year. Now, is it going to be Darren Kelly? Is it going to be Bachmeyer? Who is it going to be that can help us out back there to either alleviate some snaps from those guys or allow one of those guys to maybe even move down to that nickel position where we played Champ and Shep and Heags in the past?
Chris, this is the first spring since you've been here where the entire class was redshirted. So is this a real first opportunity to get contact with guys and see how they're going to play this spring?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, there's a number of guys that we were really excited about through watching scout team, and then even the individual stuff we did once we got in the playoff run. But it will be our first time really getting our hands on these guys because fall camp, they're just trying to survive as true freshmen. They don't know what they're doing, and they don't know how to practice and stuff. Now they know how to practice. They know what to expect. Going every other day, I think, helps a guy that's doing the double reps because you get a chance to have a day to get your legs back. But there's a number of guys we're excited about, and then there's always going to be the surprise or two that none of us know about that I'll be looking forward to talking about in the next 15 practices.
Can you gauge us? So, what's your thoughts on that class as a whole after seeing them and they're going through fall?
Let me tell you, in another 15 days. There's a lot of big bodies in there. There's some athletic bodies, but I think we have to find out how they are able to take what they learned in the fall from as much as they could understand from a scheme things to how they practiced against really good players to how that transitions into the spring. This is the second time for all those guys getting the playbook, whether it be offense or defensively, and let's see how they react. But we're excited about the whole group.
And when you say you're excited about them, is it their physical ability? Is it?
Yeah, they have great physical. We think they have really good physical ability, but that doesn't mean they're ready to play college football. And that's the big thing. Whether you take a linebacker or a secondary player, our scheme's not the easiest thing to figure out. Plus, there's a lot of good players returning. So, will they elevate us in our special teams game? Will they give us 25 to 30 plays, whether it be on the offensive line or at wide receiver, wherever that may be. That's something that, we know who the really good players are on our roster. It's those next 25 guys that we need to find out this spring that we can count on to help us come next fall, because we can't play 20 guys and have them play every special team and have them play every snap and be successful. We didn't do that last year. I mean, we were 12-2, but the ultimate goal here is to win championships. And I thought that even if you looked at JMU, I thought their backups were better than our backups, and those are the guys we have to develop.
Safe to say you're a veteran team now?
This group is a veteran group, no question. With the exception of the offensive line, it's a veteran group across the board.
Talk specifically about Jabril Cox. It seems like he generates a ton of buzz.
Yeah, he's got great length. He's 6'3", he's 225 pounds. I would say football fast. He's probably one of our fastest players. People had a hard time blocking him on special teams and stuff at scout team and things like that. But how that translate to what he can do in the spring, we're going to find out. How well can he grasp the game? He's going to play where Pierre played on our defense, which a lot of times is to the field or to the open side or passing strength side. So a little bit it's simplified for him. And doesn't have to get a lot of the complex things that you would have truly in the box like DeLuca and Plank and MJ and those guys have. So we're going to try to feed him slowly to see what he can pick up and see what he can understand, because he does have a ton of God-given ability, and he has something that we haven't had here, which is the great length outside. Esley had some good size. LJ had some good size. He's bigger than both those two guys, and just from watching people throw the football, even in last fall and in the playoffs, watching Easton and Cole trying to throw around him or over him when he was playing outside linebacker, it's a big deal, as opposed to having Jordan Champion out there or Dom Davis that's 5'9" or 5'10". That's easy to get the ball over the top of those guys.
What's your perfect scenario for Cox?
To be able to understand that position, whether that is on a first down situation or it's all of our nickel stuff, third down situation, a la what we did with Travis's redshirt freshman year, where Travis played every snap of our nickel stuff. Now, some games that's 55 or 60 snaps, some games that's 30 snaps. And the more stuff he can pick up, then that will allow him to get more snaps. But, if we can simplify those things, that he can be a blitzer, he can be a curl flat defender, he can be a man defender, he can do a lot of things if he can understand those three concepts.
Is that the comparison? He's a different size kid.
He's a different sized kid, but just a comparison of what we would hope for in the fall is the same thing we did with Travis's redshirt freshman, and really Carlton, but Carlton played inside and Travis played outside that year.
So Hendricks is safety.
Yeah, James is going to play safety. It gives us another body back there. Like, he knows it as well. Easton's got 2 years left here, and he's going to be the guy, and Cole's going to back him up this year. And we need some help at safety. And James is a tremendous athlete, and we learned that on the scout team last year, and we even brought him back a little bit this year to give us some movement of a moving quarterback. And so he's going to come and play safety. He understands the game exceptionally well, as you can imagine, being a quarterback. And if he can be the third safety, then we'll keep him there. If not, then we'll ask him, okay, what do you want to do? Do you want to go to the offensive side? Do you want to stay on defense? I think it'll help him, if nothing else, help us on special teams, because he is a really good athlete, and he's a 200-pound guy that can run pretty good.
And so Ben Dallen's number 3 then, correct?
Yes, and we really just have 3 quarterbacks this spring anyway.
Is this a good big spring for him to say, we'll see if he can do it down the line sometime here?
Oh, without question, because he'll take a majority of the reps on the young guys' field, and he'll take all the reps on the young guys' field. So we need to find out, with 2 quarterbacks coming in the fall, what he can do and what his strengths and what his weaknesses are.
Chris, can Dexter Warner play football? What do you know about Big Dex making the transition?
I don't know. It's a big transition. I know there's been some guys that have done it at the high level. And, I don't know if he's Antonio Gates or not. Nobody knows that. But we'll see what he can do at Pro Day. But I'm excited about all of our seniors that are going to get a great opportunity. I think we've had a lot of buzz around the 3 big linemen that there's great interest in those guys, and so I'm really excited to see Landon, Jack, and Big Zach work out for those guys.
Do the injuries from last season affect the way you approach this spring?
They always do, because we have more guys in the O-line than we do in the D-line. So we're trying to do a double rep system, and get two fields going well. Offensive lineman, Coach Riley wants it every snap because we've got 8 or 9 on each field. Well, we're going to have, because of some class conflicts, we're going to have 2 defensive ends on a field and 3 on the other field, and those 2 got to take every rep. And so part of that's injuries, part of that is class conflicts, part of that is just where our numbers are at. We lose Tangway for the spring, lose DeLuca for the spring. Plank's been nicked up a little bit, so guys that have played though, I don't need to. Nate's going to hit people come fall, and I think Nick will too. I haven't seen him not to hit anybody, so that's just we're always trying to balance wide receivers. We don't have a bunch of numbers, but we've got to improve our passing game. So how do we make sure that we don't run off Shep and RJ and run those guys to death, but yet get them to understand some of the nuances that we are doing and some of the adjustments we're making in our throwing game.
Do you have kind of a timeline on Tangway? Do you expect him to be pretty full go for games?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He'll be full go for the summer. He's running right now. He's not doing a bunch of change of direction, but he's running full speed straight ahead right now, and I think May 1st he'll be probably cut loose. And Nick is pretty close to being cut loose. We're just not going to have a bunch of contact with Nick. He'll probably do some 7-on-7 and some individual stuff, but we need to find out what Dan Marlette can do inside. We need to find out what Bo Pauley can do inside. Those guys need all those reps. Nick's had a lot of reps.
Are there specific things you look for in a spring practice from some of your younger players, or does that change year to year?
No, it doesn't. How to practice the starters, because this first day is going to be really hard on these guys. When we go double reps as fast as we can go, and you're the only corner in the game, but you're expected to run to the ball on every play for 50 plays in a 25-minute period. It's tough. So learning how to practice, and then learning how to practice when you're tired is different. And do they make mental busts when they are tired? All those things with our young guys is what we're looking at. And then we won't install as much defensively for sure. These first 7, 8, 9 days, just trying to see what we have with some of these young guys that are hopefully going to get into the mix and help us play somewhere. Offensively, we're probably going to install a little bit quicker because we have so many of those guys back that are, all the running backs, Lance and Bruce are going to carry the football. We need to see what those guys can do, or how much more we can give those guys. Same thing with wide receivers. All of our tight ends are back. We need to probably expand a little bit on offense. So we'll push that installation a lot faster than we will defensively.
How was Bruce's health, by the way? Was he 100% at the end of last year or not?
No, that's a good point. He probably wasn't 100% until mid-February. And high ankle sprains are sometimes better off breaking them, from what they say. And I ran into Marcus Williams. He was here about a month ago, and Marcus hurt his ankle, and this was mid-February, and he was still having issues with it. And I know Marcus was in the weight room and was bouncing around, and I said, yeah, Bruce was in there working out that day. I said, Bruce, it was a good 3.5, 4 months for Bruce to be able to get back. And so I thought just in the last 2 weeks, he's been moving around much, much better, and we feel he's going to be 100%. And he's such a versatile player, and that really hurt us when we lost him for such an extended period of time last year. And he'll do the same thing. I mean, we're going to play him at some wide receiver this year. We're going to play him at some true tailback. We're going to play, we have our 2 or 3 tailback system. But he's a player that does so much for us that we need to keep healthy.
Chase and King being gone, and you wanted to use Bruce in that kind of hybrid role. What backs are you looking to get more reps this spring and then into the fall, of course?
Well, we need to find out on 3 guys. We need to find out what Ty Brooks can really do for us. Is he going to be between the guards and tackles runner for us? I don't know. I mean, maybe not, but he can do some things on the perimeter because he does have an extra gear, and he's an explosive kid. We need to find out what Damaris Purifoy. Damaris was injured the entire year last year, had a couple of surgeries, and Damaris, we just had really a lost year, and I felt bad for him. He looks like he's pretty close to full speed right now. He's 215 pounds. He looks really good, but but he was out almost 6 months of football. So this is a big spring for Damaris. And then Adam Cofield, who was redshirted last year from Kansas City, was as productive as anybody we had on scout team offense last year. He was really difficult to tackle, took every rep because Damaris was hurt or because Ty was hurt or Ty was down with one offense. So Adam Cofield became a warrior this spring, this fall, and we hope that leads into the spring because we think he's a pretty talented guy.
Coach, a year ago at this time, you're in the middle of Carson Mania.
Yeah.
As you look back on it, how's that affected the program?
Oh, it's done so much, I think, from our brand. Everybody has always known about NDSU, but I think that period of time for those 3 months where it was a different NFL club coming in on a private workout about every 4 or 5 days and flying in head coaches and owners and GMs and stuff. And, you flip on NFL Network, you flip on ESPN, the only thing you saw was NDSU and Carson Wentz. And I know it's continued to help our brand nationally. And that's helped us in recruiting. I think it's helped us. It's helped all the other sports. I know that, and it's helped our university. And just the way Carson represents himself and represents the state of North Dakota is second to none. And he and I have kept in really close contact over the last 3 months since end of the season. And I know he's excited about some of the acquisitions they have, and he's excited to get back to work. And it's been nothing but positive for all of NDSU.
Do you feel any more excitement around the pro day because of the way the last one was?
Well, it won't be quite as exciting, I don't think. But it always is for the guys that are competing, without question, for the guys that are competing. And we'll get a number of teams represented here again simply because, whether it's Carson Wentz or let's look at Joe Haig. Joe Haig had as good a rookie year as anybody in the NFL. And I know you get Ezekiel and Carson and all the other guys, Prescott, but look what Joe Haig did as a rookie. And he was highly thought of, but when you think of Carson, he was, down the line, and he kind of chuckles about it. But, the guys like Joe Haig are what bring everybody back to say, wait a minute now, we got to go look at this Landon Leckler again. We got to go look at Jack Plankers. We got to go look at Zach Johnson again, because of whether it's Billy or whether it's Joe or whoever else, Paul Kornick, all down the line with the offensive line. You're going to always look at an offensive lineman from North Dakota State, and I think that's what helps us so much in recruiting those guys is because they know they're always going to get a look if you play for the Bison.
Chris, the move to Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it's been a couple years you've done that now. How much has that helped, do you think, going forward?
Well, if you talk to the guys, it's helped twofold. One, they have their weekends to recover, weekends to do their homework, weekends to get caught up. We spend an awful lot of weekends around here as coaches. I think our wives and children probably like it when Dad's home a little bit, and their recovery period. But once again, we're going hard for those 2 hours on a Friday, and to come back and do that again on a Saturday morning, you could see where there was probably a little bit of drop-off in previous years as far as the production and guys just being so sore, because there's going to be some times out there where some kid's going to be out there as a Mike linebacker taking all 60 of those team reps, and then he's got to do it again the next day. Well, to have those 2 days off in a row on Saturday and Sunday is big for those guys to get their body recovered, and all the things with the cold tubs and the hot tubs and all the things that we've done with the shack have helped those kids immensely to be able to recover. Our recovery time is minimal now, or much shorter, because of the great additions we've put into the shack.
All right.
Thank you.